When Sean Hannity asked Donald Trump in the recent town hall that if he got reelected, would he ever abuse his power as retribution against anybody, Donald Trump had this to say.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
for?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border, and I want to drill. He says, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border, and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
But if you listen to the lamestream media, this was his response.
Dass ich anständig meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten bin.
Coming at you from the Skyhammer Studios here on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. This is the El Donzo and D Show.
You have insanity in my earpiece.
I'm El Donzo.
I'm Deez.
And we're coming at you on a Saturday morning here on Cities 92.9. Deez, how was your week?
Not great.
Not did the nasty fairy visit you or something? What's going on?
Hurt my hand. Don't punch refrigerators, people. They usually win.
Whoa. Why did you punch a refrigerator?
Just a situation that got me a little upset. Not necessarily going to go about it on the air here, but
So what did the refrigerator do to you, though?
it was there.
It was there. It was
was
the
there.
nearest thing, and it was taunting you as you were
Yes.
PO'd.
And then, like, one of the true loves of my life is my football team, and they suck. They've lost to two of the worst teams in the NFL. Well, now we're one of the worst teams in the NFL. So, yeah, it's just been a bad week.
Isn't that funny how people get judgmental?
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, isn't that funny how people get judgmental about others, like if they haul off and hit a refrigerator or something? You know, sometimes people don't understand what's going on in somebody's head or in somebody's life, you know, and sometimes it's just easy to reach out and punch something, as long as it's not another person.
Exactly. That I was faced with two options: punch someone or punch something, and I chose something. So.
And that's a good choice. I mean, except for your hand, probably would have been better off punching that someone.
Yeah,
for your hand anyway.
I thought I broke it, but X-rays were negative, so now it's just really stiff and sore. And
I've actually been there. I punched an oak cabinet about 20 years ago, and I did actually fracture a bone in my hand, but it was stupidity. I mean, I've learned to kind of curtail my anger a little bit.
There is forever a knuckle print now on my freezer door. So
you'll never forget about the time you almost broke your hand. Is what you're saying?
Yep.
Maybe you can get one of those Fixident things, you know, like the Popsident that pops out the. I don't know.
To hell with it.
Yeah,
adds character.
Yeah, adds character, adds pizzazz to it. I want to give a shout out to the sponsor for the show, EnviroSeal. If you have sunken concrete slabs like patios or driveways, or sometimes I like to call them drive walks, we still don't know what the hell a drive walk is, do we?
No.
But maybe we just created something. Maybe we can patent that. But if you have sunken concrete slabs and you need to pump up the slabs and get them jacked up, you start jacking with EnviroSeal. Give those guys a call at 309-275-6303, and they also do residential and commercial spray foam insulation. Now, do you know how they actually pump up these slabs? They use polyurethane spray foam. And those slabs, after they do it, they're ready to be used, drived on, or do your little cookout or whatever the same day. So once again, give those guys a call, EnviroSeal, at 309-275-6303. Now, the cold opener. I don't know if you've been following this that much. I mean, if you were pretty PO'd at your football team and somebody else were punching a fridge, maybe you missed it. Donald Trump was in a town hall with Sean Hannity, and Sean Hannity flat out asked him, if you get reelected, will you take retribution on your political opponents or pretty much be a dictator, because there's speculation that he's going to go scorched earth. Trump responded, I think, in a joking manner, which is on, like we heard, on day one. He drill, baby, drill, and shut down the border. Other than that, and everybody chuckled and brushed it off. Well, guess what? Not the New York Times. Okay? The New York Times had this to say: as he runs for president again, facing 4 criminal prosecutions, Mr. Trump may seem more angry, desperate, and dangerous to American-style democracy than in his first term. But the through line that emerges is far more long-running. He has glorified political violence and spoken admirably of autocrats for decades. More than anything else, Mr. Trump's vow to use the Justice Department to wreak vengeance against his adversaries is a naked challenge to democratic values. Building on how he tried to get prosecutors to go after his enemies while in office, it would end the post-Watergate norm of investigative independence from White House political control. Now, I've got an issue with this. If Donald Trump is going to go after anybody, it's not going to be make him up charges. What Donald Trump wants to do is, if he gets reelected, is he wants to go after actual crimes. Okay? Now, we've seen this. Biden, we're going back years, and we're going to cover that as well on the show. We've got a lot of stuff to go over. We got not only this, but we got the GOP debates. We got Hamas. We've got the polls. We've got just so much stuff going on. Hunter Biden's looking at, I think it's 19 years in prison. So we got a lot of stuff to go over.
Right.
Yeah, well, I know, but hey, at least they're keeping the heat on him. But, you know, it's kind of funny that after everything we've seen, especially in this administration, 4 indictments against Donald Trump, how many separate charges against him, all because he's running against Joe Biden, and they're worried about Donald Trump doing the same thing? This all started in the Biden administration. They're setting this precedent. I don't think Donald Trump's going to follow through and make BS charges on people to go throw his political opponents in jail. I don't think he's going to do that. But I'll tell you what I think he's going to do if he gets reelected this time around. I think he's going to hold people's feet to the fire different than he did last time. Yeah, he's pissed off, and he has every right to be pissed off. What do you think, Deez?
Well, for sure. I mean, it would now be a good time to drop that clip that I sent you.
Oh, yeah, we're going to bring this up. Give us a little preface on this.
Yeah, Bill Burr, one of my favorite comedians. I wouldn't call him a liberal. Seems like he's more of a tweener. He's kind of like me. He's just here. And he brought up a really good point on Jimmy Fallon on how liberals have basically turned Donald Trump into a martyr, and how they are creating and making this a bigger problem just by the way that they're acting. So go ahead and roll that.
Okay, here, roll clip 1.
If you want to see a great case thing on like narcissism, liberals are so stupid the way that they handle Trump.
What do you mean?
You should shut up. He's a narcissist. Neutral energy.
Yeah. You think he'd go away?
You know what I think he was? I think he was a one-hit wonder. Right? He wrote The Twist. And then that was it. He was on the casino circuit, and then you idiot liberals wrote him Twist again when you indicted him. And now he's a martyr. And now he's coming back, Jimmy.
The peppermint twist is back.
He's coming back. It's going to be great for comedy. He's coming back.
So while Burr is, tongue-in-cheek about a lot of this, but Burr gets the honest part of it out there. They shoot themselves in the foot. They just had to do it. This is Trump derangement syndrome at its finest.
Yeah.
And if you look at I watched the look on Kimmel's face. Kimmel seemed a little bit shocked. Did he not?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. He I don't think he was expecting that at all.
The fact that Burr just called him right out on this, I thought was pretty amazing. But yeah, let's look at the polls. We got a little bit of time to get into this. Let's get the first segment going with the polls here. We're going to look at the latest polls. I haven't even looked at him yet. Here we go. This is how bad it is. New Emerson poll out. General election. Trump's leading 4 points. Between Trump, Biden, Kennedy, West, and Stein, Trump is up 6 points from Joe Biden. No wonder everybody's freaking out. And the more they do to Trump, the longer this goes. Now we had the GOP debates, which I want to get into on the next segment coming up. Once again, I see no reason for Trump to join these debates with these poll numbers. Okay? There's no reason for this. He doesn't need to debate. To debate, when people have a debate, they go out there and they try to convince people how good of a president they're going to be. They try to convince people what they're going to do. This is unprecedented because the two people that are going to end up going head-to-head for the presidency each already have 4 years under their belt. They don't need to debate. And yeah, this could be the first time in history that we have two front runners going for the presidency that don't have a debate. Because I don't think there's a chance in hell that if Joe Biden stays in, he's going to debate Donald Trump. There's no way he can do it. That would be the biggest case of political suicide, would be to put Trump and Biden on the same stage. That would be like living hell for Joe Biden. Do you think Joe Biden can actually make it through a debate with Trump?
No, but I almost think it's more damning to those that are on the fence if he doesn't. You know what I'm saying? That just tells me that if I were on the fence or even leaned left and he won't go up there and plead his case, that doesn't really instill much confidence in me that he can do the job for another 4 years.
Well, and we looked at the polls with the independents starting to lean towards Trump now. And I know it's early out on the polls, but the polls are so large at this point, so much swing in Donald Trump's direction. Now, Donald Trump, there may be something he can do to screw that up, but he hasn't done it yet. If the momentum keeps going as it's going now, there's no reason Trump will not get reelected. Did
you see where Biden said that he probably wouldn't run?
Yep, and I was going to get into that too. He probably wouldn't be running if Trump wasn't running.
Like
what the hell does that tell you?
He's some kind of hero to it. Like I'm telling you, all this is doing is reasserting my case that he's not going to be their candidate. They just haven't told him yet.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to figure out a way to do that. And the thing with him saying that he wouldn't likely be running if Trump wasn't running tells me that something's wrong with him. He's
got dementia. All they got to do is tell him, "Yeah, it's over. You lost." And okay. Well,
I don't blame.
Go home.
You know what? I encourage Trump not to get into the GOP debates. He doesn't need to. Okay, he's got a proven track record. All right, but Donald Trump would debate Joe Biden in a heartbeat.
Oh, for sure.
And that's going to be great because, Joe Biden, well, I'm not going to debate an insurrectionist or a felon or somebody in prison. Well, we'll see where that goes. But this is the Aldonzo and D Show. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after these commercial massages on Cities 92.9. Anyway, moving on, the GOP debates. Did you... look,
I didn't even know they happened until the next day.
So I'm vehemently opposed to usually watching these because, as I've said before, there's really no point. These people are jockeying for second place. Now, if you look at the polls, Trump right now is at 61% in the national polls, according to Real Clear Politics, which is probably, if you want to know what's going on in the polls, the best place to go to because they take all these polls. Emerson, Morning Consult, Monmouth, Trafalgar Group, which is really good. They take all these polls and put them together. DeSantis is at 13. Haley is not scratching. She's scratching 11% right now. Ramaswamy is under 5. Ramaswamy took off like a bat out of hell in the beginning, and now he's chopped liver now with the GOP. Now, Chris Christie's at 2.6%.
Why is he still there?
Well, you know what? And you didn't watch it. I watched this. I decided to go ahead. I was cleaning the house. So I go ahead and pull it up on Rumble, and I'm listening to this. And there was a couple things that got me. So Ramaswamy, here was one of them. Ramaswamy went hard after Nikki Haley, and this was a bad moment for her. He pretty much said Haley couldn't name 3 provinces in eastern Ukraine that she wants to send U.S. ground troops to. She couldn't name the provinces. She couldn't name 3 of them. And the look on her face was like he called her out on it. And we've got some other fully monkey shines about Tucker came out and said that Lloyd Austin, in a meeting, he's got this on, I guess, credible sources, has suggested that if Ukraine can't pull this off, he wants to send ground troops in. So this was part of it. And, we can talk about the Ukraine thing till we're blue in the face. But that's a big point of contention for a lot of conservatives right now is getting the hell out of that war.
Have you seen the numbers on it? The viewers?
No, what was it?
Well, the first debate was 12.8 million. Second debate was 9.5 million. Third debate was 7.5 million. And now this one has fallen to 4.1 million.
That's because people have pretty much made up their minds at this point.
Yeah, it's
But
now all moot.
This was actually one of the best debates because you had Megyn Kelly was on the moderating team. And this was more of a gloves off, let them go at it approach. So I actually enjoyed this one, but once again, it was you get as much benefit out of watching these debates at this point in this election cycle as you do sitting down and watching a sci-fi movie. I mean, it can be entertaining, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
You might as well go to the strip club during the day shift because this is the B squad.
Exactly. I don't see how any of these are going to pull it out. Now, they were talking about Iowa and getting I think it was it Nikki Haley or DeSantis got the evangelical endorsement in Iowa, and they were making a big deal out of this. Well, let's see where Iowa's at right now before the caucus. Trump's at 47%, DeSantis at 18%, Haley at 15%. So once again, just reiterating, why in the hell would anybody want to watch the debate?
I got the only possible explanation I can think of for both supporters of these candidates and these candidates themselves is that they are somehow hoping and wishing with all of their might that Trump is somehow sent to prison or ruled ineligible in whatever fooly monkey shine way that they would be the new shining star. That's the only plausible explanation for this.
What these people are actually doing is jockeying for a de facto vice presidency. You're right. That's what they're doing. If something happens to Trump, they're going to be the next in line.
If Trump did not exist, okay, let's just pretend for a second Trump did not exist, and all the other candidates were still started this campaign, and it were whoever, Haley or DeSantis, that were, leading with a 45 to 50% margin, would any of these candidates still be in?
I don't think they would be.
No, they absolutely would not. They would all seen the light and dropped out. But because of the situation that Trump is in, they're all just clinging to that little thread of hope that something drastic is going to happen that's going to take him out of the race. That's all. That's the only way I can explain it.
Now, there's a couple people up here that I could deal with. I could deal with Nikki Haley. I mean, she's a bit of a globalist. She's got her issues. Don't get me wrong. I could deal with DeSantis easily. I could probably deal with Ramaswamy. I don't think Ramaswamy has a chance in hell of doing this. Now, there's one of them that's kind of in the top 5. Scott's still in there, but Scott's out. Chris Christie. Now, I don't know what he's just got an axe to grind. He's wasting everybody's time with this. Nobody likes him. He might as well be a Democrat. And I'm going to play a soundbite for you that is the final nail in his political coffin. And they called him out, and he went back and forth with Ramaswamy and made jokes about Ramaswamy's age, and it got pretty ugly. It was entertaining. But this is one thing he said, that there's no chance in hell he'll be on the next debate stage. This was Chris Christie at the debates on child sex reassignment transitioning. Roll clip.
I stood up every single time for parents to be able to make the decisions for their minor children.
But parents...
Every single time, parents should make those decisions. And by the way, you know what? Every once in a while, parents are going to make decisions that we disagree with. But the minute you start to take those rights away from parents, you don't know that slippery slope, what rights are going to be taken away next, and what's going to be focused on.
As a parent, you do not have the right to abuse your kids. This is cutting off their genitals. This is mutilating these minors. These are irreversible procedures.
So DeSantis is right when he chimed in there. So what Chris Christie was saying was the government has no right to reach in and decide what a parent is going to allow their child to do. Now, he's trying to take this anti-government stance on this, but it's not an anti-government stance. It's not an overreach stance. What he's saying by the government not intervening with this and allowing you to transition your 14-year-old child, first of all, that's mental illness on the parent's part. Okay. Second of all, to me, that's no different than saying, well, if you want to sexually abuse your child, that's up to you. The government's not going to get involved in that. If you want to beat the crap out of your kid, we're not going to get involved in that. There's no different. It's child abuse. These children aren't old enough to make up their own minds.
Well, I agree.
Now, I can't think of anybody that was watching that debate that would agree with Chris Christie. Why he would come out swinging and say that, I don't know if he's bucking. This may be it. He may be this. If you remember Operation Chaos, he may be trying to get Democrats to vote for him. But it's not going to work. I mean, I don't know. The Democrat support, that's probably what he's trying to get. Because I can't wrap my mind around this. And, of course, the people on The View, those twits, I guess they were pretty excited and, going to bat for Christie because he's one of these rhinos anyway. But, so no, I just thought that was pretty damning that he would come out and do that. It makes zero sense.
Again, I can't understand why he's still up there. Like,
Well, Megyn Kelly was hoping and praying, according to her podcast, that he was going to be able to make it just to see him up there and see what he had to say. Now, it was pretty good in Ramaswamy, pretty much looked him dead in the eyes and said, why don't you just walk off the stage and have a nice meal? I was like, oh boy. And that's when it got my attention.
Oh, he's fat shaming.
He's fat shaming. Well, Chris Christie, I've said this before about Chris Christie. The man has no control over himself. He has no self-control. We need somebody in office. Well, Donald Trump doesn't have any control over his mouth, but you know what? It's never a mystery what Donald Trump's thinking. And I'm going to tell you something. After following politics for as long as I have, that's kind of refreshing, to be honest with you. I mean, it got kind of old after a while, didn't it? Back when he was in office, you're like, now it's like, no, we want to know exactly what you're thinking. Now, Joe Biden does that, but Joe Biden, there was this cartoon for kids. It was like cartoons. I can't remember what the name of it was, but the little baby cartoons were just scribbles. And that's what I think of when I think of Joe Biden, just a scribble. Whatever comes out of his head, it's not intelligible. You can't understand it anyway. Now, Hamas, this is Israel. We got to move on to this. I got to find this story here real quick because I have brought this up before. Okay, I've said this. When it comes to the tunnels in the Gaza Strip, why don't they just flood them? Guess what? Israel's constructing pumps to flood the terror tunnels with seawater. What better way to flush them out? Seriously, it's better than bombing them. Israel has constructed 5 large pumps that can move thousands of cubic meters of water and flood Hamas's terror tunnels within weeks. Okay, so it's better than bombing them. Okay, now depending on how fast they flood them, that can just slowly push them out of there, right? We're not talking instantly flooded. Now you got these liberals coming out, these pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian, I'd say pro-Palestinian, but I'm wrong, pro-Hamas protesters coming out and saying, well, if it floods it, then you're going to have seawater embedded in the ground, and that's going to hurt it, and that's going to cause the crops not to grow. What do you want to do? Just let these people keep doing what they're doing? We come up with a humanitarian way to get these people out of there and do this. Israel does, and nothing they can do is correct. Now they're not doing Jewish Hanukkah ceremonies. They're not putting up Christmas trees because they're afraid they're going to offend these pro-Hamas protesters. They're kowtowing to them. Nothing they can do is ever right. Now, we do have this, though. This was an interesting part of the story, if you were sleeping. They say up to 100 Hamas terrorists have surrendered. Okay, so it appears this little ground soiree that Israel's doing in the Gaza Strip is starting to work. Dozens of Hamas terrorists surrendered to Israel forces Thursday in northern Gaza, where the IDF soldiers made the militants disrobe their uniforms and strip down to their underwear. I don't think that was quite degrading enough for these people, but it's a start. What do you think, Deez?
Got to start somewhere.
There you go. It's the El Donzo and Deez Show. We're going to take a quick break. Welcome back to the El Donzo and Deez Show here on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm El Donzo.
I'm Deez.
And we were talking about Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and then Hamas, about them wanting to pump water into the underground tunnels there, the terror tunnels they have in Gaza, which I got to say is, they've been doing this for years. They've been building these tunnels. I don't see any other way to do it besides pump water into it. I think it's ingenious. And I even said that. I said, flood them out like the rats they are. Well, guess what?
What?
Now America's starting to soften. Well, Biden is.
Starting?
Biden has been softening on this for a while now. If you remember, Biden came out swinging pretty good with his support for Israel. It only took a couple of days before he was talking about a ceasefire, maybe a truce and a peace deal. He's seen his support go down because of this. And now he's starting to change his tune. And he's willing to sacrifice Israel to do this. Israel's in a tough spot right now. Now, he's got Kamala Harris involved with this as well. So my issue here is we're at an all-time high for domestic terrorism. Well, when I say domestic terrorism, domestic terrorism isn't correct. For terrorism in our country. Domestic terrorism kind of gives you the idea. It would be homegrown terrorists, like you or me deciding we're going to go to shoot somebody or shoot up a festival.
Like Timothy McVeigh.
Timothy McVeigh, domestic terrorism. Actually, what it is we've allowed so many people to cross this border. And we're not talking about people from Mexico. We're not even talking about that right now. We're talking people from Africa, from the Middle East, from China, all these countries that have come over. And it's very, very, very high right now, the threat of terrorism. We're just waiting for something to kick off.
Surprised it's taken this long.
Well, it's been building up. I mean, like I've said it before, what would you do if the border was open? We talked about Finland on last week's show, closing their border because of hybrid terrorism from the Russians, which they claimed 1,000 people crossed their border from August until November 30th, so they had to shut it down, completely close their border with Russia, and our border's wide open. So yeah, when Trump says the first thing he's going to do when he gets in office is drill, 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 and close the border, that's tantalizing to a lot of people, no matter which side of the aisle you're on, because everybody's fed up with this. Now, something else about Hamas. This has just come out. And you got to remember something with Hamas. Anytime they release a hostage or they do something or they don't launch a rocket for 5 minutes, it's not because they're playing nice. It's because they know that they're making Israel look bad on the world stage. They're trying to do that. They're trying to garner sympathy for their cause. And I'll be damned, it's actually working. But now it's coming out that they were drugging hostages. They would feed them and drug them before they released them, so they'd be sedated, so they wouldn't look angry, so they wouldn't say anything. And now they're not releasing a lot of these female hostages for fear that it'll get them bad PR the way they were tortured, beaten, and raped.
What kind of drugs?
Sedatives. I don't know if it says it. Actually, it does. I think it was Klonopin.
Ooh.
To improve their mood.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. And they've been planning this for a long time. Now, the fact, I agree with people that say, why the hell did Israel not catch this? I think Israel probably should have caught it, but they didn't. But this has been planned. It's been planned by Iran. And this is playing right into Vladimir Putin's game. I mean, it is. This was a Christmas present to Vladimir Putin to have this thing kick off in Israel. Now, we were talking about President Biden. Did you see the Kennedy Center thing he did?
No.
You know, I wish I had I wish I could pull this up, and I can't. The actual the soundbite of this. But he said about Queen Latifah, she's earned a Golden Globe and a Primetime Emmy. And he goes, enemy? That's me, Primetime Emmy. Then he called Billy Gibb from the Bee Gees. Who the hell? Billy Crystal was up there. I don't think he called him anything except for Billy Crystal, or said something about Billy Crystal. He hopes that Billy Crystal doesn't primary him because he'd probably win. Just the weirdness stuff. And then Dionne Warwick. You're familiar with Dionne Warwick, right? Everybody knows who Dionne Warwick is.
Yeah, the Psychic Network.
Yeah, the Psychic Network. She was also a singer, too. She was getting the Kennedy Center award, or whatever the hell it is. I don't pay attention to the Kennedy Center honors. He called her Diane Warwick.
Wasn't there something with Biden and Queen Latifah at some other time that it included some kind of gaffe?
That I'm not sure about. I'm not sure, but he's a gaffe machine. Look, it's not a gaffe. Everybody makes gaffes. You can't call him a gaffe machine. He's senile. There's a difference. We make gaffes on the show. Remember the Tim Scott thing?
Yeah.
That was a gaffe. We don't know why the hell we said something that was incorrect, but we said it. That's a gaffe. If Donald Trump refers to Biden when he's talking about Obama, that's a gaffe. This is not a gaffe. This guy's messed up, and then Jill had to guide him off the stage as usual. People are watching this. Anyway, I don't know. You know what? At the end of the day, what happens with the Kennedy Center honors is, just the tip of the iceberg with what's going on in our country. But it's a really good snapshot. If he's this bad at simply going up on stage and introducing people, what's it like behind closed doors in the war room or the Situation Room?
Well, if you were to listen to Alex Jones, apparently Biden's walking around drugged up naked.
Excuse me? Can you elaborate on this?
Alex Jones was on Tucker Carlson, and the only context that I have is what I saw on Twitter, where basically he makes a claim that he knows somebody within the White House that claims that Biden is known to just aimlessly wander naked throughout the White House while drugged up until they need him.
I don't know. Would it surprise you?
No, but
I mean,
again,
at this point, if lobsters started crawling out of Joe Biden's ears, nothing would surprise me. Here's something
I have
else.
a hard time believing anything that comes out of Alex Jones' mouth, though.
Okay, but you know what? Here's something funny. I got a soundbite here talking about Tucker and Alex Jones. I guess they got together and prank called Brian Stelter. Did you hear about this?
No.
Okay, well, this is a clip from the show. We don't have the actual crank call. I'm sure they couldn't record it, but here you go. This is them talking about it.
Interesting is, and I mean, I don't know if you want me to reveal this, but we had dinner in our barn last night, and there were some drinks. And after dinner, you and my producer called Stelter on the phone. And what was so, and it was on speaker, so I listened to it. What was so interesting was, you know, you've been very clear in a very direct, pretty masculine way, I would say, about how you feel about Brian Stelter. There's not a lot of confusion about your views on Stelter after clips like that, which doubtless he's seen because he Googles himself compulsively. He was very kind of syrupy sweet with you.
And that's why I was sarcastic and told him I want to date him.
You did, yeah. In fact, the exact line that you had was, Brian, I'm not usually gay, but I want you. Yeah. And he seemed a little bit, I'm not saying he's open to it or whatever, but he wasn't shocked by it.
And he's like, give me your phone number. I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And then he hit your producer up, please give me his number right now. Let's
that
talk.
was interesting.
But I was being silly with him. But there was also a line. He goes, oh, Alex Jones. I said, I want you to come on my show. And he said, oh, you still got a show? And I went, no, you're the one that doesn't have a show.
Sorry, I shouldn't.
Tell him the other line.
It's so boorish to like recount conversations people weren't witnessing.
It was funny though.
But you said, you're off TV now, but you were a real star. I mean, not on CNN, but on my show. So good.
So I thought that was kind of funny that and he brought up the Alex Jones thing. Alex Jones, here's another thing. Look, I get he's a blowhard. I don't put a lot of stock into what he says. But how many billions of dollars is he getting sued for because he went and said that thing about Sandy Hook?
No, he's not getting sued anymore. He lost.
No, yeah, he lost.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to pay this money.
Yeah.
Billions of dollars. I think it's like $2.9 billion or some outrageous amount of money because he came up with that cockamamie stuff that, this was a false flag operation and the grieving parents were paid actors, which, look, I don't agree with that one bit. And, yeah, it's pretty insensitive. But what were the actual damages in that?
I can't remember. But
there was no damages to the people. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
That's his opinion, okay? You don't have to like it.
Agreed, but just imagine one of those kids was yours and some idiot says some stuff like that. I get it.
An apology would have been warranted. A slap on the wrist would have been warranted. That's all I'm saying. If you have the wrong opinion, they will go after you. And like I said, billions of dollars and bankrupt the guy because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
I just don't agree with it.
We need to take a moment. Something just popped up on my Facebook memories. We need to wish a happy anniversary. Today, 1 year ago today, 2022, December 8th, is when Joe Biden traded the arms dealer for Brittany Griner.
Oh, what was his name? Boot, wasn't it?
Something like that. I can't remember, but
yeah,
I posted
Brittany Griner. Yeah, why did you have to bring that up? Now I'm going to be on a tangent about that.
I posted on Facebook that Joe Biden just traded away Joe Montana for Ryan Lee for all you football fans out there.
Pretty much, right? Yeah, that was at the 1 year anniversary of one of the worst trades in history.
Yep.
You got the Lord of War. They made that movie about that guy.
Yeah.
For Brittany Griner. Should have left her to rot. This is the Aldonzo and D Show. We'll be right back. And boy, oh boy, Dees, do I have a story for you. You're going to love this. Everybody listening is going to love this. You cannot make this up.
I think you've oversold it, but go ahead.
Okay, so we know about Joe Biden getting direct payments from Wasco, which was Hunter Biden's business, right, for like $1,380 a month. Direct payments. Right?
Okay, yes.
Okay. We know this happened. We know that Joe Biden was getting big kickbacks from all these shell corporations his family had set up. But this made the news. Now, is this necessarily the end of the world? I mean, we're not talking about like tens of thousands and hundreds of millions of dollars here, but this is further proof that it was getting kicked back. Now, Washington Post got a hold of this. Now, if you remember, back in October 2020, they dismissed the Hunter Biden laptop, just like everybody did, right? They said it was a Russian plot, Russian disinformation. Then you had the 51 former members of the intelligence departments came out and signed this letter.
Yeah.
They said it wasn't able to verify or authenticate it, and they called it not a story. Well, guess what? They're using verified emails from that laptop to stand up and confirm that those are just reimbursements for the truck payment to his dad.
Wait, how much a month?
$1,380. It was a Ford Raptor. Isn't that kind of funny? The person that's pushing for electric vehicles and
$1,300 a month, and he's calling that a singular truck payment?
Yes. I don't know. This is, developing.
Does the Ford Raptor cost $500,000?
Well, no. If you think about it, $1,380 is probably a $80,000-$90,000 truck payment.
Yeah, maybe if your interest rate is 50%.
No, well, who knows how much they put down on it? When's the last time you financed a vehicle?
I'm financing one right now, too, actually. And
okay, well, it depends. I mean, it depends on the terms. It depends on how much they put down. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what they're saying. So according to the Washington Post, who said in the beginning that this laptop was BS anyhow, now they're quoting the laptop to stand up for Hunter Biden. Well, wait a minute. You said it was Russian disinformation. Wait a minute, Dees. What if the Washington Post is Russian disinformation? I bet they're run by the Ruskies. What do you think?
Well, it's Jeff Bezos, so,
So anyway, I just thought that was funny. Of course, we had something else about Hunter Biden, too. Because we talked about that. I think I said 19 years. This is a New York Post headline. Hunter Biden faces 17 years in prison after spending millions on lavish, hard-partying lifestyle while dodging taxes. Now, of course, if we dodge taxes, we're going to have to pay him back or face prison.
This is all the stuff that I talked about a long time ago on this show.
Yeah.
About, the sex club and everything that he was a part of and kicked out of and everything. This is basically, now they're bringing it back full circle. While he was dodging his taxes, he was, partying out there, and love to see it.
Did you hear that he actually wanted to subpoena Trump and Bill Barr because he said this was political persecution from them? When none of these charges were brought up until his dad was in the White House?
Yeah.
Now, he's been indicted on 3 felonies for this. So if he gets a couple more indictments, he could be like the Republican frontrunner, couldn't he? If he gets 1 or 2 more indictments than Trump? I mean, this could be great for him. What do you think?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to have the same effect for Hunter Biden as it's going to have for Donald Trump. Personally, I hope Hunter Biden goes away for a long time, because what we're dealing with here, folks, is we're dealing with actual crimes, actual verifiable crimes, not hearsay, and we hope we throw something at him and he sticks. The difference is they will make anything stick against Trump they can. And I've said this before, but look at Donald Trump. I mean, if they actually had something, if he farted wrong, they dug it up. The guy's the cleanest guy in history. They can't get anything on this guy.
I'm still very skeptical, though, on this indictments, being that they came from David Weiss, who is the clown that...
Once again, yeah. So what kind of game is being played here? This is, I guarantee...
Could very well be what I talked about last week and again today.
Yes, this is all show, in my opinion, just to make it look like there's transparency in this
Go away, Joe, and we'll go lightly on your boy.
Yeah, it could be 1 or 2 or a combination of both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're very right. This could be holding over Biden's head to get him out of there.
Yep.
I mean, it's either that or it's just to show transparency and they want to keep Biden, which I don't know why anybody would want to keep Biden at this point in the Democratic Party. He's getting spanked. He's getting spanked really bad. So I hope Hunter Biden has to pay for his crimes. But, I got to be honest with you. I hope Joe Biden stays in. I know that he's not going to. It's unlikely. But here's the other thing, too. Depending on what he does, at some point they're going to pull the gloves off. And they're either going to get Trump in prison or they're going to kill him. I'll just come out and say, all right, I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned they're going to off him.
Well, I think he's 100% going to get sentenced to prison. Whether or not, he's allowed to run or whatever and has to pardon himself or however it's going to work. I'll be shocked if he doesn't get convicted of one of these, 90 counts, 70 counts?
Well, remember, it has to be federal. It has to be a federal charge for him to pardon himself. Can't be state charges like they had going on in Georgia.
Yeah.
He can't pardon himself out of that. So anyway, that's...
Can he be president from prison? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I think you can. No, and if there was going to be one person...
From the White House
to the big house.
Yeah.
If there was going to be one person that could get elected president inside jail, it's Trump. And I think these people know that. And that's why I'm concerned about his safety.
Those are going to be some great press conferences, aren't they? Right there from the mess hall and sitting there in his orange jumpsuit talking about the State of the Union while you got convicts in the back yelling, "Fresh meat!"
Yeah, no sticks, right? Oh, something else we have to talk about going to jail. We've got something kind of breaking with the Derek Chauvin thing. There's some news on that. It's kind of leaning towards it may have been a setup to get him whacked. We'll talk about that when we come into the second hour of the show.
You talking about that he was an informant?
No, the guy with the Mexican mafia that was in there.
Oh, see,
that's
I had
a whole
heard
different story.
I had heard something that he was a former FBI informant.
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Yeah, part of the mafia. But here's another one. Did you hear this? The Pentagon and the Air Force, along with the U.S. House, has blocked access to the Gateway Pundit. I mean, you're getting big as a news source, which we go to the Pundit a lot. But the fact that the government's restricting access on their servers to the Gateway Pundit, somebody doesn't like information, do they?
Not surprised.
All right, this is the El Donzo and D Show. We'll be right back for the second hour here on Cities 92.9.